Hello, it's Noir Nerd, and I thought today we'd have a little bit of a different sort of video. I wanted to do a Halloween special because Halloween is approaching. We are going to be diving into the developer graveyard. I've actually found an old hard drive, and I'm going to scour through probably about 20 worth of projects, some which are finished, some of which are done. So I've not looked at this stuff for 5 years, so I'm going to be scouring the graveyard of half-baked ideas, half-finished ideas, half-done ideas, and basically, and also probably complete trash. But we'll start with one that's working. This. Let me just bung it up. So this first one, this is actually running. This is live on. Let me just turn my voice down a bit. This is actually running. This is a 3D cinema made in. It's basically the idea of it was to watch this tunnel art manifesto in VR in 3D. It's a bit disconcerting because I can hear myself in the ear now, but basically it's just video streaming on the texture, and you can look around obviously like this. You can also go into VR mode and watch it in VR if you want to. So this is a art manifesto we did, and I presented a while ago and edited the video for it. It's like literally just that. So you can watch this manifesto and try to make it quite aesthetic, just like glitch aesthetic. So it's a mixture of using 3D and VR, and sort of like this stylized art manifesto. Let me just silence myself and play the audio so we can just. In the coming centuries and millennia, a few remnants of the old ecology, non-human wilderness, will remain untouched by the new ecology. There is no going back to the garden. We stand now in the ruins of the old ecology, the dying world of our cultural childhood, and forward through radio telescopes and particle. What a handsome young man. Looking smart with a tie and everything. But yeah, that's that. It's just like a 3D. And that is live actually on the Tunnel website. So if I go back to this is actually a live one. So we wrote this manifesto a while ago, and I created this like basic 3D scene where you could actually watch it. It's on our website actually. If you go to tunnel.co.uk, tunnel.london, .london. It's pretty cool actually. Publications 2. And now I'm going to go on to that's actual source code for it. 3D slider React 360 Van Gogh. I actually did a tutorial for this one. Does it need node modules? Oh no. What happens on. Yeah, it crashed. That might be to do with the. Anyway, that was basically gonna be. That was strange. Well, that one failed. But basically, what it was, from what I remember, unless it's a corrupted version of the project, was okay, here we go. There we go. So where was he? That one failed, so that's not a good start for that. Like I said, complete graveyard. So A-frame. This should be easy then. Form. What's that? Check if it's an actual image. It can't be that. Oh, it's PHP. I need to run it on a server, obviously. This will require a little bit more work, actually. I can do it very quickly, but I think it might actually be on here. Alone game. Now, I can't even recall making this, so this should be interesting. And it looks like it's nice and easy, just a HTML and JavaScript. If that's JavaScript, I don't know, code 0. What's all this stuff? //health. What? I don't even know if this is mine, but index. See what happens if I boot the index up. Now this is actually, I do know what this is because this is actually finished and released as well. So there's a small game I made with G Developer called Alone. It's basically a sort of a jam game basically. You died, blah 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 blah. So yeah, this is actually alright. Like, vulnerable when you start, you die basically, and then you start looking around for your wife. So start black hole. Okay. Well, this is obviously a broken. Oh no, but where's my character? This is obviously a broken version of the game. Because usually there's a little character sprites. This is probably like a half done version of it. How do I get out of this black hole? Because there should be a sprite in there. There's this green thing. It does sort of work actually in a way without it, but not really. But basically, usually there's like a. This is obviously a broken version of the game that I didn't finish. See, there was an invisible demon there. So basically, so that's a broken version of something that I got working. Yeah, this is a half-working version of a game that I finished called Alone, which does actually work. It's on my itch.io page. Next one. Next. Hopefully we'll get onto something that actually works. I think this is something that actually works. If we go to index, we're going to have a very nondescript page, but basically it just creates links to these Free.js landing pages. So I actually did this for a commercial project and then made it into a template basically. You can actually find this on my GitHub. This does actually work. It's this is all Free.js with raycasting, so you can. And what essentially it is a countdown landing page screen with some glitch effects. And also you can customize it if you wanted to. And there's two versions of it. So this is the first one, which is like it's basically based. It was based on an example. It's like one of the first Free.js projects I ever did actually. Over here, and then go brackets league, so go back, and then go to lines and space. Load that one up, I think it works. But it's like, yeah, you can still find this one. It's only a little bit actually. Similar sort of thing. It's just like a animated lines thing. And then there's a countdown. That's that one. I'm actually fairly familiar with that one. That's not too much of a surprise. That's the tea. That'll be the final one. My favourite films. There's a tutorial of this one on here actually. It's just a bootstrap thing. My favourite film. So this is actually made for a tutorial, basically on basic usage of using Bootstrap for layouts, and it's just and actually accurate. Bunch of films I like. So just a list of films, and you can actually watch the trailer. But it was made as an exercise to teach basic Bootstrap layout and how to use like the utility classes in Bootstrap. That's nothing that I've forgotten. I just remember nothing really memorable, but I just remember doing it. I know this is definitely a failed project. This is something I was trying to do a while ago called City of Shadow, which has gone. It's like with some projects you just keep on remaking it, and then realizing that probably overcomplicating it by what you're trying to do. But I wanted to try and build an interactive fiction game from scratch and try and think about that. But so yeah, this is actually just a bunch of static pages actually as a sort of starting point for the HUD as well. But that's largely half finished thing. The idea of this was you're going to be a detective, it's going to be an interactive fiction story, but again, it's like this is using Bootstrap, and I was just trying to create a sort of generic layout for it. But then I don't know. I started making it in Twine, so eventually this is like an early prototyping thing, I guess. Desleon I can't show, but that's got fully tons of files in it. That was actually something I was working on for work. I can't really show it, to be honest. This won't run. Or maybe it will. I'll try this one. Because I know that this probably won't work, but I'll try it anyway. It probably won't work. I think I might even get the same errors before. Like starting React Native packager. I don't think this will work, but possibly it's because of the running on the hard drive. I'm not sure, to be honest. But like I've left all these node modules in these just source projects, so probably won't work. Yeah. Yes, it won't work. So we'll go on to the next one. Fog map. What's that? Okay, this is just an index and 2 JavaScript files. Okay, that's great. There's nothing in there. What's the whatever we get? Create map is not defined, so obviously, what is this actual code in? I think. What am I trying to do there even? Oh, this is some random thing I was trying to do. Look at it. There's nothing there really. Nothing worth looking at. Games is probably a folder with a load of stuff in. That obviously I never really got going. GDevelop is just the actual thing. GN Comic Master. My app. That is using. Let me just try and run this. This has got a package JSON, so I'll try and. I will actually try and run this. What's the front end prototype? Ah, okay. I was actually building this a lot on the train. This is so bad. The UI is horrendous. Like I know that. This is basically like prototyping, like, and it looks horrible. I know. But it's the whole idea about having an interactive comic book maker, so you just be able to choose it, but it doesn't work at all. Like, it doesn't really work. It doesn't really do anything. I don't even know if this will work. Probably not. No. The idea is that you add the panels, add the text, and spit it all out. But this is one of those things where I was just on the train. I was just like hacking a bunch of stuff out, like just UI ideas mostly. It's an extension of the City of Shadow, which is just something that project that experienced horrendous feature creep. Like I just, instead of keeping it simple, I just went crazy with it and just was like, yeah, no. So I'm making a interactive fiction now. I'm going to make an interactive fiction maker. Blah 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 blah. GUI is also got nothing in it. I don't know what it is. Probably some assets I was downloading. Heart of Darkness. This looks easy enough. Index. Ah, this is actually an earlier version of a finished project. So this is actually finished. It's like literally just. This is not too bad actually. This is actually finished. Let me just see if I'm full screen there. Sorry. And I think this should take me back to the index. Yeah. So this is basically The Hollow Man by T.S. Eliot with some interactive 3DS elements. This is an earlier version of the actual finished thing. So that one's obviously died. Some of them are a bit buggy there. It's like half finished basically. But yeah, just using 3JS, and then it's got the perm there. But this is obviously a half finished version that I've just saved in my graveyard. What are we on to next? So how many in total are on here actually? So I've got that's another version of the same thing. So that's not going to be that spooky, I don't think. Instascan. This is this idea I had to create like a QR scanning app, and I did actually get it done. Like does work. I mean, I think I would have to. It's got the node modules there, so let's just try and run it. This is. What's this? Nah, this must be something I just copied to have a look at it. It's like I cannot remember making this at all. I can't even remember doing anything on it, like even, so it's probably not mine. Instascan. I think it's a library actually, from what I remember. The KG game. Right, what's this? Okay, yeah, this is something I did ages ago. Ages ago. So we've got a React version and a prototype version, it looks like. KG demo. This is like quite weird. It's like a FreeJS thing for loading in models and doing some stuff with it. I'm not sure if it'll work. It's really it's way bloated. It's really cumbersome. I'm not sure if it's going to work at all because it is. Yeah, look how it's not going to load it. Oh, it's loaded now. So, and then I think it's just really. So it's like a 3D gallery thing. Like so there's basically it should be. You can add in Iron Man, for example. You can add in basically different models. So try add car, and in theory, if that was going to work, it would load in a 3D model. And obviously, this is sort of so we've got Iron Man there. We've got Earth. And selected that. Add Earth. So that sort of works. And let's just give go. What happened? I guess this might possibly be a broken version of it. Failed. Camera. I don't know. Basically, it would show like a 3D preview. It's not that exciting. It's a bit silly and jank. As hell. I actually want to find something that's half decent. Like This is stuff that I can't show. Portfolio bootstrap project. This is actually something I covered on this channel before. It was just like when I was doing another bootstrap tutorial. Oh no, it isn't. Okay, this is some weird, bizarre digital media thingamabob thing I was trying to create. It looks horrible. It's horrible. It's way too over the top. Yeah, I was just trying to create some. It's just not very good. I do try. I like making these experimental, weird, like graphic sites, but like, this is just too much for the eye, basically. But I think it was just literally a bizarre experiment that I just decided to do for explore some ideas around QR scanner. So this was live for a while. If this is the one I'm thinking of. Alright, yeah, so it won't use my camera because I'm actually using it, but if I turn it off quickly, this might work. Because I'm actually recording myself now, it won't work, but turn that off, try and reload it. This is basically just a QR scanner. So, I don't know if it'll let it do it because my camera was in use before and it might still be in use, I'm not sure. But if I go, basically it's just a QR scanner. I put this online for a while, and I just, it's qrwebscan.com something for a while. It's just a QR scanner. It doesn't look that impressive now, obviously, because my camera's not in use. My camera's in use, so I can't actually show it. But basically, you just scan. I had this crazy idea actually of this whole thing of making money from that, like just from ads. It was a bit of a stupid idea, really. But I was just trying it out. QR scanner web app, silly circles. This is something I was doing as part of. I was teaching someone JavaScript, so it's just basically about once you on hover events and like all that sort of thing. So that's that really. You just hover over this, and then I think the idea was that it was going to trigger sounds, but I don't think we get that far. I was just trying to teach someone about like how to some basic JavaScript and some basic CSS and HTML, so just did that as a way of doing it. And yeah, it just swaps the elements around. I wonder if it's randomized, I can't remember. I mean, it was quite a cool thing to do if you're just learning about this stuff, but yeah. I was trying to teach you think about just some basic mouse event listeners. I'm not sure if this will work, but Space with Head Controls was actually quite cool. It's one of the earliest, but I don't think it will work. So I finally got it working. Okay, so I finally managed to get this one working. Essentially what this is, you navigate around space with your face. That's it. It's built using the Jailers library. I did sort of. Just pull up. You navigate around the scene with your face. It's facial recognition, and it actually just gets your face, and you can. Whoa! I've gone way off. I've gone way too fast. It's a bit weird. Like the speed's probably too fast. Actually, the camera moving, and it seems to have lost me.
No, still got it. It's just struggling a bit. And you can actually fly around. No, just paused a bit there. Got me again. And yeah. Again, a bit of a random experiment. Stop.
And it's, again, a bit of a random experiment. Stop. Get the London look. And got too close there. I think it's there we go, it's got me again. So this is like a 3JS, I think, and the Jailers. 3JS for the 3D rendering, and then Jailers for the face thing. No, I'm off the map now. Tracking's a bit not perfect all the time, but this is something I did in an afternoon as an experiment. It's actually probably one of the most interesting, at least technically, of the things I've shown so far. Though I do have to, because of the cores, I do have to upload it on an actual server, so I just have to upload it to get it to work. But that's virtual arts. Again, something I have very little memory of producing. Interesting. This is an idea I had. Well, this is the Project Graveyard, of course. Part of the idea of it is that many of these projects are things which were sort of working, and then either I gave up for one reason or the other, and what have you. But this is actually something that could have had some wings, actually. So it's an open arts VR, and I basically was trying to consolidate all these projects I'd done. For example, like ArtViewer 3D is something I made a while ago using Play Canvas. So I was trying to, I had this idea about offering services, basically, and then there's an art view, VR art preview. I wonder if it actually opens up the individual thing. No, these are just placeholders for now. I was just trying to design a basic site. Forget about, does that do anything? No, there's no about page yet. Pretty sure there's a philosophy page. 3D gallery creation. I wasn't doing these things in VR too. So I think I was just creating a page for that, and it's essentially just, the idea of it was that I'd offer services basically doing these, using these tools I'd created, which are still out there. Like, you can still view ArtViewer somewhere, I think. And this, no, actually can't. They're not really public at the minute. But yeah, I think that was the idea of it, was to do a philosophy. Why doesn't philosophy actually load that in this video? I must have never. Yeah, so the idea, no, this is just like a real template. Open Arts VR is a new website that aims to offer two distinct 3D VR platforms, offering artists a variety of options to present their work digitally. So obviously they was trying to commercialise something here, but this would have been the time when I was working 2 remote dev jobs, so it must have just remained a half-finished thing, right? This is the Graveyard. Contact is probably just the generic contact page. Yeah, it's just the generic contact page. That could have had some wings, actually. I could still probably do that, like offer it as a service, but it's quite a crowded space now, so it's more about VR ArtViewer. Is this like the updated version of that thing from before? Is it actually, I don't know if this will work. Is it using PHP again or something I was looking at before? That's it for most of them. All of them are trash. Like, not all of them, but I'm going to expand the Spirit search out now a bit more. So I can show this actually, because this is finished. This does work, and I know it does. So I'm just going to switch my camera off again because this does make use of the camera. This is actually just basically a updated version of the QR scanning application. But this was actually used in oh my god, what? This exhibition based on Stalker, and it's essentially, you've got a few pages, you've got the artifact scanner, maybe it will work now. You scan these items when the camera functionality was working. Like, I've not used this, I haven't looked at this. Oh, now the sound's working. Zone information. Yeah, it's got a bit of sound effects, you can hear it a bit now. Like, it wasn't working before, but because I hadn't interacted, I think. It's really NEA based, and the layout is like, you don't have to tell me, it's not that great. But the idea is alright, like basically it gives you a bit of this like information like about the background of the story of the Zone, which is part of the art exhibition. It's called the Zone. Gives you the current time. You're this Stalker figure. The exhibition was in Peckham, so it's what's called, says Peckham on the Stalker ID, and it's like sort of like almost like the idea was that you'd have a, because this is mostly a mobile based app, you can run it on desktop, but the idea was that you have a scanner which would come up there with the video feed, and then you scan each object, and then each one, if I can actually, had its own page, and you'd have different information about each object. So it was like a fake scanner for an art exhibition, so a multimedia thing basically. And like if you view that in mobile, it should be alright. Yeah, so this would be basically the view you'd be seeing on a phone. I don't know, the iPhone 5 or something. I don't know if you can, that's an iPhone 12. Quite mini, but like, yeah, you could literally go through each one. And if I change this to artifact 2, you could scan each object, and you could go onto the page about it, and then have a look at the hell slime, for example. You could go in there and scan and find out about that. That was a fun project actually, and we did it. Like, it was shown at this exhibition. We go through, scan everything. Hence the very stylized, grunge texture stuff in the background, which sort of works, I guess. Maybe it's a bit over the top though, I don't know. From a design perspective, and so Artifact 5 is nothing because it's probably never finished. Artifact 4, we had a look at the smoker now. No, we didn't look at the smoker. But yeah, and then the other artists involved, like I think it was Loz, made this actual object, and then the map was made by Beck Smith, who's an artist. But the map doesn't actually have much on it. You can like scroll through these things, and these are part of the artworks that she made for each piece. But that could obviously be improved. Camera barely read it. And the Zone information was just like information about the Zone, which was in Peckham, and that was the actual exhibition space where we were in. So that was actually a finished app that did get finished. I mean, it was a app for very specific use in a very specific, very specific use case. Basically, what's shooter? I have no idea. I'll call it that. That was a bit of there's numerous technical issues that came into then, but I hope that was somewhat spooky and interesting. Definitely, like, most of the stuff wasn't really configured. Like I said, this is like my folder of really barely worked on projects that were as you can tell, were basically barely working, and were probably not great ideas in the first place. Though there were a few things in there which were quite interesting. I think the head controls especially is quite cool. But yeah, I hope that's been terrifying. A terrifying dive into a project graveyard. I've got a lot more than that actually. Like I've got more projects than that that were just like non-starters or like half completed, or like just almost stuff that I've completely forgotten about. I think every developer has one of their own. Project Graveyards, where they were initially very excited about something and lost the will to work on it much more after a short amount of time. The will or the interest. It can be a really hard thing to avoid doing sometimes. I tend to not think of it always as a failure. Every time you're doing something, even if it's a complete failure, you're learning. So I don't think there's anything really negative about it, really. And I think every game developer and web developer has a repository of graveyard projects. So that's a little bit of an insight into mine. If you want to have a confidence boost, that everybody has that. Everyone goes through projects that just die on there, don't go anywhere. That's that. Been a nerd. Have a happy Halloween.